Before the world knew him as a global icon, he was simply a man with an unbreakable spirit, a man who sacrificed his freedom so that millions could one day live in their lives. For 27 years, Nelson Mandela endured imprisonment, yet prison never imprisoned his mind. He emerged not with bitterness, but with forgiveness, not with revenge, but with a vision to unite a broken nation. His life proved that true strength is not measured by physical power or status, but by the ability to master your own mind, even in the face of unimaginable suffering. But his greatest lesson extends far beyond history. It is a timeless blueprint for everyone seeking resilience, inner peace, and unshakable mental strength. In this video, we explore the power of forgiveness and discover how Nelson Mandela's living legacy can transform the way we face adversity. Now, the first topic that I want to talk about is the weight of injustice. To speak about this is that we need to understand that Nelson Mandela was once a young man in South Africa, where he was born in a small village in Eastern Cape called Imvezo. So Nelson Mandela was just one of the many young black people who were out there in South Africa who were living in government of apartheid, which actually wanted to see segregation amongst the whites and the blacks, where the opportunities of the people who were already living in this particular country were determined by the skin of color. The opportunities of black people were so limited in a sense of that the apartheid government could control whom they married, where they live, what kind of a job that they had to be given to the black people. And Nelson Mandela was having a problem with this particular narrative and the government, where he believed that each and every person who's living in this particular country must be given fair chances to succeed and to compete within many aspects of their lives. And through this, in 1962, Nelson Mandela was actually arrested due to the fact of that he was prominent and vocal about this particular problem, and of which, even in a court, he echoed that he's not going to accept this as a normal thing for many people who were living there in the country. And then, instead of pleading guilty in the courts, he said, no, I'm going to continue. And in that sense, eventually Nelson Mandela was actually sentenced for life imprisonment in South Africa. But what does this teach us? His resilience teach us is that Nelson Mandela wasn't in prison because he hated people. He was imprisoned because he believed justice was worth sacrificing for. And in our life is that we need to understand that um, for greater things to happen, they demand a greater sacrifice. The path of which you have to take as an individual, it's not going to come through the comfortability that you're going to take, but you need to sacrifice a lot of things. You have to do a lot of things in order to get what you want as a person. But you also need to understand that it also begins with courage, and you have to take the right decisions in order to succeed in whatever that you want to succeed on. The second topic that I want to talk about, or of which I need to focus on, is the battle inside the prison. So Mandela was sentenced to life imprisonment and sent to the prison, which is now found in the province of Western Cape or Cape Town, which is called the Robben Island prison. So the reason of which he was sent to prison is because of that. He was sent there to break him down physically and mentally. His days were filled with exhausting labor in a limestone quarry under the scorching African sun. And prisoners were given poor food, slept in a tiny cells, and were denied basic comforts. Visits from family were rare, and letters were heavily censored. He watched years pass while missing birthdays, funerals, and precious moments with his loved ones. 27 years is longer than many careers, longer than many marriages, longer than an entire generation. Imagine waking up morning or every morning behind the same bus with no certainty that freedom would ever come. That would break you down. Many people would have surrendered to bitterness. Many would have allowed anger to become the identity. But Nelson Mandela made a different choice. Why did he do that? It's because of the fact that he realized that although other people were controlled or this controlled his body, they did then they did not have to control his mind. He disciplined himself to study, to exercise, to learn, and to develop patience. At some point, every day became an opportunity to strengthen his character instead of breaking down or feeling a resentment towards the people who actually made him to go through this. His prison became a classroom where resilience was built on and a difficult foundation day by day. The second lesson at this point is much more powerful because we have to understand that your circumstances should not determine your destiny or should not limit your thinking capacity, your opportunities, and maybe even your potential that you may become one in a lifetime. You have to move on. You have to break the salts and the confinements around you that will limit your potential. You have to ensure that you become someone even when if you have limited resources. You need to actually create ways of which you are going to use them in order to fulfill your goals that you want to achieve in your life. The third lesson that we have to speak about is the decision that changed everything. As the years passed by, Mandela came to understand the truth that many people never discovered, is that hatred creates another prison. If he walked out carrying anger, and then the prison would simply move with him. Forgiveness did not erase the suffering he endured. It did not pretend that injustice never happened. It did not excuse those responsible. Instead, forgiveness became an act of liberation. Mandela understood that resentment gives power to the past, and also while forgiveness gives power back to the future. One of the ideas most closely associated with him is that resentment is like drinking poison and expect it to harm someone else. The poison only harm the one who carries it. Forgiveness was not for his captors, it was for his own people, and it was also for his own freedom. That decision transformed not only his life, but also the future of the entire nation. And the fourth lesson that I want to talk about is that forgiveness is not weakness. You have to understand that forgiveness is not weakness. Many people mistake forgiveness for surrender. But Mandela showed the world that forgiving someone is not the same as agreeing with that they did. Forgiveness does not erase justice. It does not remove accountability. It simply means refusing to allow pain to become permanent. Real strength is revealed when someone has every reason to seek revenge, but instead chooses wisdom. Think about your life. Think about your own life as an individual. Perhaps someone betrayed your past. Perhaps someone spoke about wrong things about you, um, of which literally they still hurt you years later. Perhaps you have been treated unfairly. Holding into those wounds may feel like a strength, but often they become invisible chains at times. Mandela teaches us that the strongest people are not those who win every battle against them. They are those who win the battle within themselves. And the fifth lesson is of that mental strength begins with self mastery. Throughout his life, Mandela demonstrated extraordinary emotions or emotional discipline. He understood that leadership begins with self control. He chose his words carefully. He listened before speaking. He remained calm under pressure. He refused to let emotions make decisions that wisdom should make. Mental strength is not the absence of emotion. It is the ability to manage the or emotions without allowing it to control your actions. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to develop patience. Every disappointment becomes an opportunity to grow. Every setback becomes an opportunity to build character. Mandela's greatest victory was not defeating an opponent, it was mastering himself. The sixth lesson number six, is that choosing unity over revenge or choosing unity over revenge. When Mandela was finally released from prison in 1990, the world watched closely. They wanted to see what would happen next. Many expected revenge, many feared civil war. Instead, Mandela chose reconciliation. When he became South Africa's first democratically elected black president, he reached out not only to those who supported him, but also to many who had once opposed him. He understood that a nation cannot heal if its people remain trapped by hatred. One of the most powerful examples came during the 1995 Rugby World Cup. Rugby had long been viewed as a symbol of white South African identity. Yet Mandela wore the national team's jersey and publicly supported the Springboks, sending a message that the future belonged to every South African. It was more than a sporting moment. It became a symbol of national unity. His leadership demonstrated that reconciliation can achieve what revenge never could. So sometimes you just have to reconcile with your enemies. Sometimes you have to reconcile with even those people that you know that they hate you. But at the end of the day, you're actually creating a unity and a freedom in your heart to actually move on from those difficult moments that once placed you into. And then moving on to the seventh lesson is that how can we or how we can practice Mandela's lesson today. We have to understand that we have to apply some of these lessons into our lives. Now, most of us will never spend decades in prison. We all know that. But we all face moments that test our hearts at many times. Perhaps it's broken friendship, a difficult marriage, a family disagreement, a colleague who treated us unfairly. Forgiveness, you have to understand that forgiveness begins with a simple decision. Choose not to let yesterday control tomorrow. Accept that not every apology will come. Release the burden of which you are carrying in your heart. Focus your energy on building the future rather than reliving the past. Every time you choose peace over bitterness, you strengthen your own mind. That is the true power of forgiveness. And the last lesson that I'm going to speak about is that your greatest freedom, or this is your greatest freedom. Nelson Mandela walked out of prison in 1990 as a free man, but in many ways, he had already become free long before the prison gates opened. His captors could imprison his body. They could never imprison his character. His story reminds us that the greatest prison is often invisible. It is resentment, it is hatred, it is bitterness, it is the refusal to let go. Every one of us carries something from the past. The question is not whether you have been hurt. The question is whether you will allow hurt to define the rest of your life. Mandela chose freedom. To choose freedom, he chose forgiveness. He chose hope. And because he made those choices, he changed not only his own destiny, but the destiny of the entire nation of South Africa. If his journey teaches us anything, it is this: true mental strength is not found in holding into anger. It is found in having the courage to let it go. With those words and the lesson of which I have taught you today, or with the lesson that I've reflected about the life of Nelson Mandela, I say that thank you for staying with me. If this story inspired you, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone of which you think that they might need it. And I thank you.